Welcome back to Fair Game. I'm Kristine Leahy here with Ashley Iaconetti and Jared Haibon from Bachelor in Paradise. So Ashley, you were on Chris Soule's season, and we knew you for a couple things. The crying being one of them, and being a virgin was the other.
Virgin, that was my caricature.
Did you ever have some hesitation about going on TV and talking so openly about being a virgin?
I didn't think I was gonna have to be as open as I ended up. I put it in my audition tape. I thought it was gonna set me apart. It was definitely a big part of dating at that time at 26. You know, you have to tell a guy eventually. It's either gonna, hopefully he doesn't turn them off, right? But it was definitely affecting me in some way. And I, you know, on The Bachelor, you have to be open about everything. That's the whole beauty of opening up and being vulnerable, on the show, right?
Just the two of us on this private little date we're having.
Yeah. So it was definitely awkward to talk about at first, but once you start talking about it on camera for a while, you're like, oh, hey, you know what? I am really just embracing myself fully, you know?
Okay, so looking back at all of your time on The Bachelor, Bachelorette, and Bachelor in Paradise, was there ever anything that you're like, I regret that thing. I regret that one thing.
You know, when it was airing and soon after it aired, I thought, oh, I regretted that. Or maybe I should have been more chill, or maybe I should have stopped talking in certain times. But now, with a couple years removed, I don't really regret anything.
No. Yeah, I guess I just regret not sticking to my convictions a little bit more and going with my gut, and just being more open with my thought process and how I was feeling in the moment. Because I think, specifically in my second season of Paradise, with the whole situation with our quote-unquote love triangle, I wish I would have been a little bit more forward.
Wait, was there not a love triangle, really? If there was quote-unquote?
Well, because people called it a love triangle, but if I'm being fair, we were just dating other people. I was dating someone else, and she was going after somebody else as well, because I was dating someone else. I'm not saying that. But I wish I was a little bit more open with my feelings at the moment, and really, instead of just trying to resist this feeling of maybe there's something more than friendship with us.
He was more confused than he was letting on.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Right.
So I love that you guys were friends too before you got engaged. So you really knew each other very well, and that made getting engaged probably a lot easier.
Yeah.
So many couples don't stay together after this happens, but you guys are engaged. I think fans are really rooting for you to stick it together. What have you learned maybe from the other couples about how you're going to make sure it works?
Ours is totally different than any other married Bachelor couple, because our romantic relationship really formed off the show.
Yeah, and I think it's true though. Our love did form off the show, and I think it's not only advice I'm taking from other Bachelor couples per se, but advice that I'm just taking from couples within our friend group and our family. My dad always says if two people want to stay together, then they'll figure out a way to stay together and make it work. And I've seen how my parents' relationship has evolved over time, and how it's become more strong and more loving as they've gotten older, because they just rely on each other more. And I certainly rely a lot on Ashley for a lot of different things within my own life. And so that's a big, well, it's true.
Wait,
that's a big factor.
So this is a cute, so Ashley, we knew you always liked Jared from the beginning. What was it specifically about him that you knew you were into right away?
I don't know, it's really weird. It's like nothing else I ever experienced. It was truly love at first sight. Like, I always say when I walked down those stairs in Paradise and I saw him, like I was hit by something, and I'd never experienced that before. But then sometimes I think, I'm like, you even felt that the first time you saw a picture of him. When I saw a picture of him, a paparazzi shot from Caitlin Bristow's season, I was like, that one. I want that one to be in Paradise. And then I watched him on the show, and I thought he was adorable. It was different just watching him on the show, but then when I saw him in real life, it was like, that's your person. It was so weird, even before we spoke.
What took you so long?
Well, I think for a lot of different things. One, I always envisioned myself as somebody the complete opposite of Ashley, somebody far more reserved, quiet. Those are always the girls that I kind of dated. And so, obviously, Ashley is beautiful, and I was very attracted to you when you first stepped out of the limo. But then I also saw you go through Chris Soule's season and how emotional you were, and you were the crying virgin.
Expressive,
and so when
dramatic.
I mean, whether you admit it or not, you go through these shows and you have a perception of somebody, and of course they're more than that person. But when I first saw you, I was like, oh, that's Ashley. Yeah, the only thing I really knew of you was you were the crying virgin, and you're really hot.
I don't know if that's somebody you really want to date.
But that's but also like I said, like the prototypical girl that I used to go for would be somebody who was far more reserved and quiet and shy, and so when I first met you, I was like, oh, no, of course not. And then we got to know each other, and I was just always attracted to you physically, but also just, I always wanted to be around you, you know?
Was it her persistence?
No, it was her personality.
Thanks, babe.
But it was true. It wasn't a persistence thing. Like, I just wanted to hang out with Ashley. And
So when you saw her with another guy, is that when it really hit home?
no, it was more so, I knew I had feelings for quite some time. I was just
Okay.
always pushing them back and like thinking back upon like my mindset and where I was, you know.
And still kind of wanting to find somebody who fit his like prototypical type. I think
Totally.
he didn't like break loose of wanting to find his type for a while. He's
No.
like, I'm really gonna go for something. I'm gonna settle with some, not settle with somebody. I'm going to like commit my life to somebody who I never imagined, you know?
No, of course. And the thing was, like, the year leading up to us actually dating, we were still best friends. We talked every few days. I mean, almost every day, probably. Every time I go out to LA, we would hang out. She would come to Rhode Island sometimes.
Oh, wow.
And so we were best friends. So it was kind
Were
of
you
like.
okay though being friends with him when you knew
No.
you had more feelings?
It went back and forth all the time. So I'd be okay
Which I
with
never
it.
knew.
I never, because
You thought she just wanted to be your friend?
what happened
Well, I
was.
thought we got to a point, specifically after our second season of
Yeah.
Paradise, where it was like, okay, this is just a friendship thing. Like, I knew of other guys that she was going after. You
He
know,
made it very clear that it wasn't gonna happen. So I was like, okay, well, I can't bring up the fact that I have feelings anymore, so I'll just bury it.
Yeah.
So then whenever we'd hang out, I thought it would be okay, and then he'd leave and I'd like break down. I'd be so sad, like, what is going on? Why wouldn't he want to be with me? It's so perfect. So I just kind of like kept that all in.
Check out our YouTube channel, Fair Game on FS1 to catch all the best highlights of our show. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode.